Now to the latest on the investigation to Jon Bones Jones.
Actor 7 News reporter Aaron Hill spoke to the pregnant woman who was in the car Jones is accused of hitting.
I hate you. I hate you.
Jon is one of the, I think he's the best UFC fighter alive.
If you look at the people that he went through, you know, to win the title, defend the title, it's very impressive, and it's undeniable that he's the greatest of all time.
Jon Jones is the youngest champion in UFC history!
What is that like being Jon? Like, what is that like thinking there isn't another man on the planet that could do anything to you in hand-to-hand combat?
I don't see anybody that can beat Jones, honestly.
Just for me, Jon Jones, winning over Jon Jones is bigger than taking the belt.
Jon is what I would describe is there's human beings that have different temperament and different minds and different mentality and a ruthless competitive drive that's almost terrifying to the ordinary person. That's Jon Jones. Jon Jones is a bad guy who's trying to be a good guy. But that guy, if we were living 1,000 years ago, he would be on a horse with the biggest battle axe, waiting in the back, hacking heads off, and everybody would be running. And those people have always existed. These dominators have always existed. But Jon is like a genuinely sensitive, intelligent guy who's trying to do the right thing. But he's a fucking conqueror. He's a fucking conqueror. That's the thing that's inside of him that leads him to be the GOAT. And without that, you don't get there. You don't get that. You don't get a Mike Tyson without that. You don't get a Muhammad Ali without that. You don't get a Marvin Hagler without that. You don't get that. That there's a thing inside some people that is a driving force that allows them to overcome the greatest around them. It's a Michael Jordan. It's a
100%.
There's a thing, man.
Tom Brady.
And those motherfuckers are hated. They're always hated.
For sure.
Because you have to hate them because you can't beat them. Jon Jones has been wrestling since he was 12 years old. He took down Daniel Cormier, who's an Olympic level wrestler.
I thought I could get the job done. And as we were fighting, you know, it still felt pretty good. And then, you know, I can't say enough about his mentality inside of that octagon. I've shared that cage with some very, very strong men and some very big men, heroes, superheroes, and I can't say enough about his grit and his determination.
Daniel Cormier has fought many heavyweights, and he says in his interviews that Jon is a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger than you would imagine when you're in there with him.
If anything surprised me is that he felt a little bigger in the cage than he looks normally. He's a big guy, strong.
And if you tell yourself something and you really believe in it, and you have no doubt, you can do it. And that's how Jon Jones is. His mind is really strong.
Like, I don't think the day he fought for the title, he chased down a guy who robbed someone and tackled him and held him until the cops came.
Right.
And then went and fought Shogun and became the youngest ever UFC champion.
It's amazing for a guy who I believe was a janitor, right? And you got into this because you needed to get some money for diapers, right?
Yeah, I was applying. I was a bouncer actually, making $50 a night, and I was applying to be a janitor because I would have benefits.
Wow.
And right when I was waiting to get the call back, someone wrote me on Twitter, a kid that I never met, and he said, "Hey, my cousin owns an MMA gym in Cortland, New York, which is about 45 minutes away. Didn't have a car, and I was driving my fiance's car to commute over to these practices. The kid changed my life forever. He just planted a seed in my MySpace and changed my life forever."
Why'd he reach out to you? Just like that?
God's grace, man. He has sustained me through so much, through the death of my mother, through facing a 4-year suspension, through just my dumb mistakes.
Are you a good guy trying to be bad, or are you a bad guy trying to be good?
That's a good question. I think I am a bad guy that's trying to be good.
News 13 has obtained camera video of the crash that stripped Jon Bones Jones of his title.
I've had a lot of time away from the sport, a lot of time to reflect on, how much this MMA career means to me, and I cannot wait to get back everything that I lost. I'm so excited to be back here and fighting against DC.
I gotta ask you, Jon, talking about getting back what you lost. I mean, the belt's sitting on the other side of the stage over there. I think a lot of people are looking at DC to justify the fact that he's a champion. You've had to take some ownership for what's happened over the years. When you look at DC, is he a legitimate champion? Is that the real belt over there?
Fuck no. He never beat me. He never beat me.
The fighter allegedly ran a red light while driving a rented Buick SUV last month at Wantabo in Southern. Police say the accident ignited a 3-car collision.
I beat you after a weekend of cocaine.
Around 2010, 2011, I went through this huge spiritual thing where I became obsessed with the power of the mind. I took myself from being very average-minded to actually believing that I was the shit, and believing that I could be the shit, and that I could be the GOAT and be the greatest and never lose. I took myself to a different place mentally. I literally got on all these TED Talks and on YouTube, and I just started YouTubing videos about self-belief and what does it mean to be confident, and what does it mean to be a winner? How do you become a winner? And I would watch hours and hours of Tony Robbins and Les Brown and TED Talks, and just became really obsessed with just learning about the power of the mind. Just subconsciously, I know who I am, what I'm capable of. I keep a certain degree of humility. It's what makes me work my ass off. But I just feel it in my whole being that I'm the best fighter on the planet. I wear this tattoo on my chest, Philippians 4:13, that I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I genuinely believe that I can do anything.
I'll make it an easy question. If you could choose one person in history, say modern history, last 100 years, to fight literally for your life, who would it be?
Jon Jones, who's in the UFC still, has never been beat.
I know.
This guy has beat everybody. And when you talk about real fighting, when you talk about who the baddest man on the planet is, when you talk about that, the real definition of what that means, you throw 2 guys in a room and who comes out?
Yeah.
Okay? That's the baddest man on the planet. And it is hard to not say that Jon Jones is that guy right now.
You can't accidentally beat Jon Jones. There's a thing about...
So he's GOAT over Khabib.
He's GOAT over everybody.
So that's my form of meditation. I step away from terrible situations and look at myself as if it's the future. And I'm looking back on what's happened to me or what's happening, and I say, okay, how can I get myself out of this? How can I make this better? What do I need to do to turn this around?
In your mind, you don't have an end point.
Nah, there'll be an end point. There will be an end point, but I believe I'll go out on top for sure.